We've already started.
Yeah,
Have you already been recording?
yeah, you said. It's already. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the show, and our show is called Sporterview. I need to confirm the program name, but this is Mike, by the way.
Hello.
I will introduce him in a little bit. I want to introduce the podcast first because I have had this idea for a long time already. Having a podcast that talks about the sports industry in Hong Kong and inviting people from different parts, different aspects inside sports, not just athletes, but anyone in sports to talk about anything really. Because I feel like you have your TV or radio interviews with athletes all the time, but in Hong Kong, it's limited airtime and everything, and it's lack of interest probably. So I feel like all the interviews are very superficial. Like if you won a Olympic medal, okay, then you talk about your Olympic medal and how do you train, how did you get into the sport, that kind of stuff. So I want to go deeper, and I want to talk with people in the industry like Mike, because Mike, let's introduce yourself. So who are you?
I'm Mike Lamb, and I've been coaching ice hockey for the last more or less 12 to 13 years.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, I've only represented, and I only say only because I only represented the Hong Kong national team once, and we didn't win anything. And
Just that a cap is a cap. I mean,
we played like 6 or 7 games, and
Yeah, that's good.
I think I was benched for the last half of one game against Chinese Taipei because they were really good.
okay.
But you know, it's actually quite difficult to get on any national team. Even ice hockey is now more and more competitive. So
Yeah.
it's that's part of I coach ice hockey now, and I'm working with kids from like age 5 all the way up to
Yep.
16, 17, 18.
Yep.
And I run my own hockey club.
What's it called?
It's called Kung Pao Kings Hockey.
Yeah, always promoting, eh?
Just a little bit. I got a shameless plug here and there.
Of course, yeah. That's what
it's-
we do here. That's what we do here.
I mean,
Shameless.
It's very shameless, actually. KungPaoKingsHockey.com. Anyways,
I like it. Honestly, I like the name very much. It's a cool name. Cool name for a hockey team.
Well, it's I think it's because we're thinking about how to make it a west and east kind of the meeting in the middle because
Yeah.
Kung Pao isn't really it's actually probably more famous in the U.S. and Canada than it is here as a dish.
Yeah.
Kung Pao chicken's very famous out west.
North America.
In North America, yeah, and even in England and anywhere west of China.
Not so much here in Hong Kong.
No, not really. I mean, people know of it. 宫保雞丁,
Yeah,
宮保
yeah,
雞丁.
yeah.
They know
Yeah,
it,
yeah.
but it's not like they're
It's
going to
not
go,
popular.
ooh, let's have it.
No.
Like, ooh, let's go to the restaurant for Kung Pao chicken. Like, but it did originate in China, obviously.
Oh, that's true. Yeah.
Yeah, spicy and
Yeah.
honoring a governor from Guangzhou, I think.
Oof.
Yeah.
That I think that says a lot about what you represent because you're an ice hockey coach, but you were also a teacher.
Yeah, well,
That's very unique. I think that's very unique, and that's why we're talking about what we're going to talk about in this episode, right? Because there's education, is sports as well.
Yes, definitely. And I was just at a symposium in Slovakia where one of the presenters, Wade Gilbert, I think it was Wade
Right.
Gilbert.
Yep.
He was talking about how coaches are not just the other word that is a coach is actually teacher.
Yeah.
Because you really are just teaching. And he was talking about a basketball coach who is like a very famous basketball coach, collegiate, I think he was, and he would always talk about every time you interviewed him. They were always asking him, "Oh, so what are you doing?" "Oh, well, I just teach the kids." It's just teaching,
Yeah.
teaching. It's not about coaching. It's teaching.
Yeah.
You teach math, I teach basketball, or I teach
Yeah.
hockey, you teach English. It's teaching. It's just a different medium, right?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. So let's jump straight in. What are we talking about this time? Monster parents, eh?
I think the monster. This is something that we could really talk on for a long time. I think monster
Yeah.
parents. Let's not just say monster parents. Let's say parents that are very enthusiastic. Let's be a little bit more. Let's put a positive spin on it.
All right.
They're super enthusiastic about their children's development.
Yes.
Yeah.
But sometimes a little bit too much, eh?
Yes.
Too enthusiastic.
A little bit too enthusiastic, I think. I don't know. How do you feel, or what have you seen in sports that maybe would be a little bit,
Oh.
kind of comparable to monster parents, or?
I mean, like in a lot of sports, and I think it's not just in Hong Kong, but in a lot of kids sports, you see a lot of parents yelling at coaches, at referees, at even like at the opponents. A lot of yelling. I just like when you say monster parents at sports, then all I think about is the yelling parents, right?
Yeah, there is a lot of yelling.
Yeah.
But it doesn't make any difference.
Yeah.
I'm not a social psychologist or a child psychologist by any means. I have no degree in child psychology or understanding, but I could probably understand, because I was a child, how it
Yeah.
felt when other parents were yelling at their kids. The
Yeah.
feeling that they get is, one, it distracts a child.
True.
Right?
True.
Like they go,
Yes.
"Hey, look, hey Jimmy," and then he turns around and something happens.
Yeah.
Why don't you just let him play?
Right.
Or let her play. Let Jenny play. Let them do whatever. Let them
Right.
just go out there and explore. I mean, how do you learn?
Yeah.
Right? I mean,
That's
playing
true.
a sport is just playing. Not You can't think that they're gonna end up being like Ronaldo or Ronaldinho or Wayne Gretzky's, right?
Yeah, and that I think in that aspect, would it be a little bit more so in Asian parents than in Western parents? Or is it the
Oh
same?
no! I think it's everywhere. I mean,
It's
I've been
everywhere,
to
yeah?
I've been to. There's. I mean, I was in Vancouver in 2016. We were running a camp,
Right.
and we went to 3 or 4 different rinks. It was actually a pretty cool camp because we would go to we went to Burnaby rink, Burnaby Winter Club, and then we went to Hillcrest, which is a nice rink, and then we went to Britannia, which is an older rink,
Right.
and then we went to the Oval, and so like at the Oval I was there, and the kids were just getting off, and then they were running a practice, and like this parent was just like telling the coach what to do. After the practice, he was like, "Yeah, this and that, this," like he was just going into specifics, like, "Why are you doing this? Why are you doing that?" It's like, he's the coach. You entrusted the coach. You joined the program. You should have done your research.
Yeah.
You know their style. You know what they're doing. Why are you complaining about it now? It's like, and I feel sorry for the guys from who bought Lehman Brothers crap, but it's the same thing. You bought Lehman Brothers bonds. You bought a whole bunch of bonds that went crap, but you should have researched it before you bought it. You
Yeah.
should have understood the risk.
Yeah.
And if you thought the risk was enough, like you thought, okay, it's so low that I'm gonna make money, and then you lost it all, that's nobody's fault except yours.
That's an interesting analogy.
Well,
It's like, true, it's an investment, right? It's for parents to pay for all those programs and
Yeah.
coaches. That's an investment in your
it is an
children.
investment, yes.
Yeah,
but
that's true.
but how do you after investment? Do you think this is one of the? I think you kind of mentioned this, the investment part. It is an investment, but is it an investment? Are we, to put it in terms that one of my mentor coaches, Kevin McLaughlin, says is, are we racing to the wrong finish line? Are we going to are we trying to build investing money in them, 100 grand, 100,000, $100 million or whatever into a child to produce an athlete that will make that money back? Or are you trying to promote your child to get him to play more sports and become a better person? I think that's a more worthwhile goal than to say, well, my child's going to go to university or
Yeah,
something on a
yeah.
scholarship, which is more likely in the U.S. than here. I think here, athletics, you're not really, hoping that they will become, some sort of NCAA or university athlete and go, wow, he's getting his tuition paid. No, that's not the case here in Hong Kong. So what is the motivation for parents to invest so much time and money into their kids?
Yeah, it's very contradicting for those parents to do that, because when you're paying that much money to your coaches, to the courses and everything, then you should trust them, right? If you're yelling at the coaches and you think you know better, you shouldn't have paid for all that. You should have coached your own kids, right?
Start your own program.
Exactly.
This is exactly what happened in Malaysia.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, the ice hockey program is amazing there. They
Right.
have like a national program,
Right.
and then they have a parent group that went off to and decided we're just going to make our own club.
Wow. All right.
Yeah. And I'm not going to get into the politics of it because it is quite complex, but sports politics has always been complex. I think any sort of organization or society associations will have these kind of things going on.
Yep.
But I look at it on the positive side is that they thought somebody wasn't doing a good enough job, and I'm not going to say that they didn't. Maybe it's a different way of doing things, and they didn't like it. And they went off and did their own thing, which means that they've decided we're going to grow sport in a different manner, and we're going to grow the numbers by ourselves. Why not? Then go grow them.
Yeah.
And somebody else will continue doing. Those other people will continue doing their job and promoting the sport.
Yeah.
And then you're going to grow the numbers even further.
Yeah.
So there's no. I don't think there's any animosity. I don't know. I'm an outsider, but I just feel like that's cool that they can do that.
Yeah.
And now you have more and more stuff going on rather
Yeah.
than just the same old. And in Hong Kong, we have a big diversity in hockey clubs, lots of different levels of like entry. So I think hockey is growing to a point where we can have like a grassroots program, a middle program, a very elite program, and who's going to take care of those things? It's not easy to
Yeah.
manage. Yeah, not easy in Hong Kong.
But if you see those what we call the monster parents,
Yes.
then do you think it's more because they actually think they know better, or is it just because they love their kids so much that they think the kids are the best, and then if you're benching their kids, then they will yell at you? But do you get the sense of what bugs them, what was bugging their mind?
Yeah, that's an interesting question. I mean, I feel like it's a little bit of everything that you mentioned.
It's all
there.
combined,
I
alright.
think it's really an amount, a culmination of, like, how they were raised themselves.
Yes.
Right? And you can use
That's true.
you could maybe use the analogy of as a parent you raised a certain way and then that's how you raise yours. But then like hockey is the same too. And that's why we have to get out of this. We have to change it. Is that hockey coaches, let's just say you're from China and you played in the national team in like 1960s, 70s, 80s, you were trained by Russia. Okay, no problem. You played hockey then and you saw them succeed in the 80s, 70s. So you think that's the system to go with.
Yep.
And then that's what you do. You just train your players to do those things only. And so that just saps the creativity, saps everything out that really could be making your team even better. But you just know that's exactly the way we want to do it. Don't do it any different or we're going to like send you to the coal mines or something. But because that training is like 40 years old,
Yeah.
then you're teaching a kid now something that's like what you were learning is that old. Now you're teaching another kid that's old. So now
Yeah.
you're just perpetuating the system of something that's not working anymore because the world changes.
Yep.
The systems change. The way of playing changes. People become better. Athletics has become more of a science than just having fun now. If you think about it,
Even for the youth sports, right? Even for kids. Eh?
Yeah, there's sports testing. There's sports, like the sports-specific training.
Yeah.
I mean, back then you didn't have that. You just had basic training. Just make sure that you are athletic, playing different sports so that you can become more agile or more flexible or everything, that you could think of. I never played one sport when I was a kid. I think I played 2 or 3 different sports. You play soccer, you play baseball. I was playing ball hockey all the time. So it was never one thing. And you can't, I mean, in Hong Kong now, I get some parents who tell me, yeah, I'm taking my kid out of swimming and I'm just doing 5 days of ice hockey. And I think, okay, well, that's good. You're spending a lot of money on ice hockey.
Yeah.
Swimming's much cheaper.
Yeah, that's true.
And swimming works a lot of your muscles that you need to develop.
Yep.
So then why aren't you still doing swimming? Oh, no, he's going to make he's going to go and do this and that and wherever. I'm like, okay, good luck. But research has shown where there's a lot more population, let's say the States in baseball or States in ice hockey, even in Canada, sports-related injuries are higher when you do only sports-specific sports. Like
that's
if you
very true,
only
yeah.
play that sport.
If you look at professional athletes, they do a lot of yoga, a lot of swimming, a lot of training underwater. There's a lot of different stuff that like we don't see it. Like as sports fans, all we see is NBA players playing basketball, but they actually spend a lot of time doing other stuff in their off days.
Definitely. But I mean, I think if you talk to any other athlete later in your podcasts, you'll probably find that many of them didn't just do one thing. I mean, obviously in Hong Kong, it's almost difficult with monster parents to do only one thing, but to do only one sport is probably something that parents want them to do because they think that over concentration in one thing will help them become so much better at it. Right? Like, oh, well, my kids needs to be really good at math, so I'm just gonna put him in this math program, and he's gonna do it, and that's the only thing they're gonna do is math. Well, then you're gonna be deficient in other programs. That's the same thing as if you were to say, I'm not doing English class, I'm just doing math. Well, then, yeah, his math is going to be really good, but then his English is not going to be good in school. Why do you think school have multi topics that you have to learn? Well, in ice hockey is the same, soccer's the same, basketball's the same. You can't just do basketball. Sports
Yeah.
is athletics is a whole thing. So parents, some monster parents are like this. They think, I gotta dump all this money in, and then I hope that kid's gonna go somewhere for education. Maybe you never know. It's possible. I'm not saying
Yeah.
that it's not possible. I'm saying that the likelihood of receiving a scholarship or basically anybody from Hong Kong going to international school or going to boarding school in Canada, U.S., you're paying exuberant amount of money to do so,
Yep.
not because you're going on a scholarship. So there's no point in dumping in so much money unless you feel that that your child really wants it and
Yes,
wants to play at that level and just enjoys playing at that level.
that's very important. Yeah.
Right? So if your child thinks, yeah, I love this, I love playing with this team, I love playing at this level, put me into all the hockey programs, I want more ice time, then hey, by all means, please let them. But you
Yeah.
still should emphasize that they should play other things. You do not want one day to have, your kid burn out,
Yeah,
which is a big
yeah.
problem.
Yeah, I was gonna say because like apart from physical ability or the development of your body or your muscles, is the mental side of it is very important as well. And I think the most important thing which a lot of Hong Kong families don't lack of is the frank kind of communication between kids and parents, because like the parents might take them to ice hockey for 5 days a week, and they might seem to be enjoying it, but you don't know what they think. Like some kids, they might be shy, they might be a bit quiet, they don't show their emotions that much. And if the parents don't know what they were really thinking about, then they don't know how they feel about the sport. And if you keep pushing them 5 days a week, and then they might be playing actually pretty okay, and they get into teams and everything, and then you put more time and money into it, and then at one point they were gonna break, they're gonna explode and burn out, like you said. So you have to know, like really know your kids, I guess.
Yeah, you have to, and the coaches also need to know where they are and how they, communicate with the parents as well to make sure that they have an understanding of the child together, so that they can develop him or her into either, what they want to do. Maybe they want to play professional hockey. Maybe they want to do professional football or basketball. But at what point? On average, I think studies have shown that most kids usually decide at around age 14, 15, 16, in that age,
Right.
adolescence,
Yeah.
whether or not they really want to do something.
Okay.
If they really want to pursue that thing as a career or as a semi-pro almost, or not, just for fun. And this is where we're pushing kids to a point where we don't need to. We should let them decide on their own. And that's also, like, for example, in ice hockey, I always go back to ice hockey. I coach it. So
Yep.
we have a position called the goaltender, a goalie.
Yep.
And I'm pretty sure in football you have this as well. And other invasion
Handball.
sports, you have the handball,
Yep.
lacrosse, you have a goalie, floorball as well. And the goalie in ice hockey is probably the latest position that anyone would want to decide to play. Like, you try it as a
True.
young player, you try it at U10, at U12, but you can always switch back and forth
Yep.
because you don't want to just be stuck as a goalie. But if there's like a bunch of players that actually have tried goalie and then they continue to try it throughout their ages, through the ages that they're developing, then at 14, 15, 16, they can decide, okay, actually, I want to play goalie. This
Yeah.
is what I want to do.
Yep.
And it's such a hard decision to make because that means your parents have to decide to pay about 4 times as much for hockey gear. Because the pads are not cheap. The goalie pad is much thicker. Everything else that you have to buy is, because you're a goalie, you got to pay more.
Yeah.
Which leads to kind of, goalies being very special, which has always been kind of the culture for hockey. And I'm not saying they're not
Yeah.
special. They are, because they've chosen to take pucks to the head.
But I mean, just look at the helmets. Like,
Yeah.
it's so cool. And all the prints and the patterns and everything. It's good.
So
fun.
to analogize that to sports development, it's the same. If you feel like, oh, your child is actually talented, there's a bit of talent there. It can't just be, I'm just going to force it so that they can become talented. No, it's not like that. I mean, if they got some athletic talent and some genes that, your parents have passed down to you, and you're lucky, then you're going to be a really good athlete. Then then make that leap and go, I'm going to do it. But some kids, I mean, I've talked to a former student of mine, I think it was 2 years ago, last year. He went to, at the age of 10, I mean, at the age of 8, I remember we were practicing with him, and I told him this story, and he doesn't remember it, but I remember it because I was coaching him with
Right.
my other coach mentor, Barry. And Barry said, hey, what do you, not everyone's going to play in the NHL, but what do you want to do? We're just practicing here, but what do you want to do when you grow up? He goes, but Barry, I want to be an NHL player. That's what this 8-year-old said. And his favorite player was Crosby, Sidney Crosby, a really good player in the NHL.
Yep.
So 2 years later, after 2 years of playing in Hong Kong, he decided, okay, family's moving to BC. So they moved to Kelowna. Great family, great kids, and they moved there, and then they started their hockey, and they started playing and playing, and he's really good. His older brother's pretty good at hockey too. And then the last time I talked to him, I said, what's the dream now? And I'm gonna go to school. I'm gonna go to college, university somewhere. Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's fun.
But that's good.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
good that you've made that decision. So at
Yep.
that point, at the age of 15, 16, he's decided that maybe slightly burnt out of hockey. Like it's a sport he loves,
Yeah.
but it may not be the thing that he's gonna do for the rest of his life, right? And
Yep.
so he said, "Well, I'm gonna go to university, I think." Yeah.
Yep.
And so if he decides to go that route, that doesn't mean that he still can't play. Like, it's possible someone spots him, and he's a gem in the, a diamond in the rough, and then someone spots him while he's playing somewhere. Who knows? And it could happen. But for now, he's made that decision, and I think we should. That's why I respect the parents so much, is because they're not pushing it. They said they wanted to do it. We provide them the resources to do it.
Yep.
We help them along, and then at the end of the day, the decision is theirs. We're not here to dictate what they want to do. I mean, we can give guidance. That's what the parents are saying. We can give guidance, but we can't.
That's an interesting example, because I think, and I don't know, you probably know better than me, but I think, like, for local Chinese parents, I don't think a lot of them are actually hoping their kids to become professional hockey players. But I think that those competitive ones, those monster ones, I think is a lot different things that goes into their behavior. For example, I think ice hockey, like, to be frank, is a symbol of status in Hong Kong. If you get into ice hockey, it means that you're a well-off family, you can afford it. A lot of them are expat kids. You speak good English, that sort of stuff. So for parents to get their kids into ice hockey, I think at least part. I'm not saying all, but part of it is getting into that social hierarchy.
Yeah.
So I think, like, for the Hong Kong, most of the families, I think it's like professional hockey was never in their mind. It's just that we need the kids to be in this sport so that we can be looked up to. We can get along. Maybe their kids are in the international school. Maybe their parents might be local Chinese, but I speak English with my kids. My kids speak perfect English. They play ice hockey, that sort of stuff. So I think, apart from the dream of being a professional athlete, I think the other thing is also about just being competitive in the Hong Kong society.
I think that's that kind of sums it up. I think there is a portion of that. I should a part of that is real because you've got parents who join and they think that is part of their status. It's like, hey, my kid's playing ice hockey. It's like, wow, isn't that expensive? It can be. And then you go, oh, then right away you can feel, and I'm not saying all parents are. Like you said, it's not all parents.
No.
But there is definitely a status. If you look at the number of kids going into international school from Chinese parents, it's some schools have more Chinese kids as an international school than an international student base.
True. Yes.
So that just goes to show you that there is an interest, a want to become more Western or more, I can't say civilized, but definitely more Western. Just to feel like, hey, we're above I can't say above the local population, but definitely more educated. They feel that they have more options. Instead of just going to university here, they can go maybe to the UK, Canada, Australia, something that is different than here. And which, I mean, yeah, well, that's part of it. I mean, you know how hard it is to get into university in Hong Kong? It's pretty hard.
Yeah. It's very hard.
What do you... It's very hard. It's extremely difficult. But at the same time, it's like, well, okay, yes, it's hard, but then are you giving your kids the proper motivations to go to where they want to go? But, like you were saying, the monster parent thing is not just about professional sports or getting their kids into that level. Like you said, it is definitely a social thing, but then it can get even worse, though. Like there have been examples in the States where parents have attacked officials, attacked referees, umpires. Basketball referees have been attacked by parents, and you're like, there's no point. But it's happened, and this kind of abuse actually turns people off from volunteering or getting paid that little.
Yeah, that's very
pittance.
sad. Yeah, that's very hurtful, and I think like if it's to the point of them being abusing officials, referees, and everything, I think that's probably coupled with their own kind of pressure from work or their character and all sort of stuff. It's just an outlet for them, and then pretty much projecting their anger to whatever people they can. And in sports is very easy to do that, and especially you're watching from the sideline.
Yeah, yeah, and it's. I was just gonna say something I can't remember now. Something about parents who abuse officials. It actually leads to officials not wanting to officiate anymore. Which then, I mean, if you think about an official as a machine, then yes, it cannot make a mistake. When's the last time a player didn't make a mistake? A player, you have two teams. There's actually three teams on the ice. Team A, Team B, and the officials. And when is it that none of these people make a mistake? Someone's going to make a mistake. Either it's Team A, B, the officials.
Yep.
It's going to happen. So you can't, blame a ref or an off-ice official for maybe releasing a player too early from the box or maybe writing down the wrong stat. I mean, everybody's human. Maybe that guy didn't get enough sleep. He wrote the number wrong, and your kid didn't get a point.
Yeah.
Well, it's not like he did it on purpose. I know that kid. I'm not going to give it to him. There's no malice from the officials. The officials are just doing their job, just like Team A and B have a job: score goals. Right? Team officials and team off-ice officials, their job is just to, one, keep stats and to keep the game safe.
Yeah.
But if you yell at refs, if you do these things to abuse referees and officials of any sport, really shame on you. You should not be putting your children into sports, or you should not be playing sports yourself.
Yeah.
There have been several cases, even in our local league here, where the officials have been abused by players. This is unacceptable behavior.
True.
And it stems, and I can imagine these adults having kids, and then later on abusing the officials through their kids. I can just see it. So I'm hoping that they don't. I'm hoping that they don't have kids.
I mean, this is more than parenting because, like, even for sports fans to go watch a game of anything, ice hockey or whatever, it's very easy for them to yell at refs, like in any
Yes.
sport,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
Especially in Hong Kong, like if you go to a football match, so many bad language going anywhere. I mean, a lot of people think is part of the Hong Kong sports
Culture.
culture. I guess they have a point, but also the anger towards the referee because I think part of it is because like referee is pretty much transparent in you can't really see them.
You're not supposed to. No. If they're really good, you just watch the game. You don't really care about the ref.
Yeah, and so like they're easy targets for you to abuse on because if you abuse the other team's fans they will come back at you.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
But the
yeah.
refs can't. They can't yell back at you. So that's I would say that's a coward behavior.
Yeah.
Because they can't talk you back, they can't fight you back.
Because
so,
they have to be the higher person. They have to be the
Yeah.
better person. Is
Yeah.
to not say anything back to you. To wait for you to make more errors.
Yeah.
This is the one thing I feel like if you were to, as fans, I feel like there's a line. Like if you're going to be if there's malice and anger behind it, then yes, I think that's not good. But I've been in situations where players have given me a couple of chirps. We call them chirps.
Yeah.
A little bit like hey, keep your eyes open there. Keep your eyes open there, ref. Hey, how was that offside there? You missed that one, eh? And I'll be like, yeah, whatever, man. Hey, why don't you score a goal next shift? So there's friendly banter,
Yep.
chirps, but
Yep.
then there's malice. Then there's like it goes over the line. So if we count the go over the line stuff, then we have to nip that stuff out of the kids right away.
And I think the line is where like okay, like during the game you have your chirps, your banter or whatever. But after the game you shake hands.
Yes, exactly.
I think that's the right line there. But if you started to I don't know like attack the person by their names, talk about their family, their life outside of being a referee, that crosses the line. I think
Already, just by saying something about that is already over.
Yeah.
And if you carry that grudge over after the game, then you shouldn't be. I mean, no matter how bad a referee is, you have to think, okay, how bad were you as a player? Did you score 5 goals? Did you complete any passes? Did you skate the puck a certain way? Did you do things correctly in your own team? Well, probably not 100%. So you can't really put all the blame on refs for some things that happen.
Yeah.
So the referee is always about safety.
Yeah.
Safety.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that's the sports culture
Yeah.
part of it. But I think, like you mentioned before, in Hong Kong, the education system is also contribute to this kind of behavior among parents.
Yeah. Well, try to find a child in the local system that doesn't have a 6-day schedule. That's packed from morning to evening.
Yeah.
Like, okay, I gotta go to school by 7:30 or 8, and then I go until like 3. Oh, what do you have after? Oh, I've got a tutorial class from 4 to 5. Oh, and then I got ice hockey from 5:30 to 6:30. Oh, and then I got soccer practice. When do you eat dinner? When do you go home to shower? And when do you do homework? When do you read? When do you get a chance to play video games? When do you get a chance to relax? No. What, relax? What's that?
Like hockey is probably
maybe hockey.
That's play, right?
Maybe
That's relax.
That is why my philosophy in coaching is let them play, let them have some fun. Yes, they have to learn some skills, but then you got to let them play because they are so stressed from real life.
Yeah.
It's like they're living an adult life, and we
Probably
shouldn't.
busier than the adult
It's
life.
busier than us. Busier
We
than
have
us.
weekends, like we have days off.
I have.
You probably
I have
don't.
a day off. It's.
That's the thing about like working in sports or as a coach, right?
Yeah.
You basically you have the same schedules as the as
As
the
the
kids.
students, yes, yes, that's the issue is that I cater to all the kids that have after school activities. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, that's true.
But
And but like having said all that, do you have any ways of dealing with this kind of parents when you're coaching your club, your ice hockey courses?
I think if you stay positive about things and don't overstate them or over exaggerate anything, and don't let it get to you, then you can the parents can see that and they can either like that, like the fact that you're being positive about their behavior
Mm-hmm.
and trying to maybe give them suggestions on how to behave,
Yeah.
or if they don't like it, they can go to another club that allows it.
Mm.
Right? But obviously, I would rather be able to have a conversation with a parent and say, hey, maybe there's no need to, do this. I was just reading an article about there was an interview done through college athletes, successful college athletes and Olympic athletes, I think it was, and the one common thing that they said that they liked or that they remembered was that their parents just said, "We love watching you play,"
Mm.
and that's it, nothing else. So there's no after game, post game conversation about why he didn't make a pass or how come he didn't shoot the
Wow.
ball. It
Yeah.
was just, hey, that was fun watching you play. That was great,
Yeah.
and that's it, and that's what made the kids feel so like, oh, that's great. That you're encouraging me, but you're not telling me that I did anything wrong. I mean, maybe I did make mistakes. Maybe the kid did.
But that's fine.
Yeah.
The kids.
How do you
What do you
gonna learn?
expect?
How do you gonna learn? They don't make a mistake. How you
Yeah,
gonna learn?
exactly.
So that is
But like, that's very rare in this day and age among parents, right? Like, like I have to say I have great parents in that aspect. Like my mom always takes me to basketball practice, even though I'm so small. I'm small. I like back then I was even smaller. Like I was playing in like Canadian international school or some kind of. I didn't go to international school, but I play in the summer camps, and all those big boys like the white boys. Whew, they're all like like
an extra
literally
foot
more
over you.
exactly. And I was playing like shit. Like if I think back, I was playing shit. But like that's actually what I really want to talk about. Is apart from parents being parents, it's also the coaches. Like everyone was a kid, but back then I played a lot of basketball. I went to South China, so South obviously very local or Chinese coaches and stuff. They yell at you. They yell at you like 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 you are the NBA players in Spurs, like Greg Popovich yelling at their players. That's the same kind of yelling, and I was scared. I was literally scared to go to the basketball courses sometimes, like not all the times, but sometimes.
Sometimes you go just to go because
Yeah,
mom said,
yeah,
okay, just go, and then you went.
I just have to go. But then, like, there's a big difference. When I go to the summer camps, like I mentioned in international school setting, the Western coaches, they're so positive. Like even I can remember very very clearly. Like when it was a game, we started playing games full court. It was probably the first time that I played full court game, and then I was open. I was open. I love shooting threes, and I was open. I shot it. It was air ball. So naturally, as a kid, I was like, oh damn, I shot it air ball. It's like it was so
It's
bad.
bad. Yeah, yeah.
But the coach immediately said, like, that's a good shot because you were open, you made the right decision. It was a good shot. It doesn't matter. Try again next time. So that was very nice. It was very encouraging. I felt confident, but then I'm sure like in the same situation in with Hong Kong local coaches, you'd be yelling. Why did you shoot it?
Why'd you shoot it? How come you didn't? Why didn't you hit
Come
the
see.
3-point every time?
Right.
Every time. How come you didn't shoot 3 points every
Yeah.
time?
Yeah.
F.
Yeah, exactly. Yes, yes. And I'm telling you, that's is very influential to a kid, because fast forward to I think 15 years later, I was in university in New Zealand. I was playing in the inter hostel game or whatever. I was one of the better players because not many Kiwis play basketball back then, but like I was one of the better shooters as well. And I was open as well. I was open in a game. I was open. I got the ball. I just came off the bench. I got the ball. I passed it. I didn't shoot it. And then my teammates and my coach and everyone, my captain, were yelling at me. Why didn't you shoot it? We were open. You were one of the best shooters. Because I lacked the confidence. And that lack of confidence is because I was yelled at when I was a kid. Like when I said I went to the summer school and international school, that was like a small part of my
Yeah,
my
of your daily
sports
life. Yeah,
education.
it's just that.
I went to more of the local courses and local
Yeah,
basketball classes. So I'm more trained within the local Chinese kind of context. And that kind of molded me into what I
yeah,
am,
yeah.
especially in on the sports field. And then that similar situation that happened quite a few times during my teenage years to during my university years. So like right now, I think back into it, it's such a huge influence when you do that to the kid.
Yeah,
So
it's definitely something that we could probably as adults we can trace back to when a moment was, those positive moments you remember quite well, especially when they make an impact.
yeah,
And like a similar story to yours was, I remember playing baseball in primary school, and the coach. Okay, to be fair, we were not the A team. We were a B team. But the coach, his philosophy was let everybody play. Everybody bats. Everybody runs. Everybody catches. Everybody gets a position. Everybody
yeah,
is out there.
yeah,
And I remember his positivity. And I called him. I think it was 2 years ago. I called him because I was still friends with him. His son. I played with his son.
oh yeah,
Right. So we're the same age, and
yep,
he's on Facebook with me. So I was like, "Hey, Matt, man, it's great to see. It looks like your kids are playing hockey now. It's just so great. Sports are so fun." It's like, yeah, this and that. And then I was like, I wanted to thank your dad. And I called him up, same voice. I just like instantly went back to like 8, 9 years old. I
yeah,
went straight back to it,
yeah,
and I was like, wow, this guy. And just the way he spoke, he said, the reason why I did that was, and he has that Canadian kind of, oh well, I was like, this and that, and I was like,
yeah,
and I when I was growing up, I just, I was playing sports, and my coach was really always yelling at us. He wasn't very positive, didn't let us play, benched us, and so when I grew up, he said he didn't want to do that. He wanted to do something different, and the way he did it was, I would say, quite progressive at the time. I don't know. I mean, maybe sports was supposed to be like that, and I don't know. Maybe I got the benefit. I got lucky. Maybe other kids didn't have that luck, and they were given a coach that was, nah. But I talked to him, and he was like, "Yeah, okay, that's great that he appreciated the call," because I think that it's those moments, those kind of experiences as a kid that you remember for a lifetime that mold you, like you said,
yeah,
either it's negative or positive. Obviously, it didn't mold you into an unsuccessful person. It just, in certain instances now,
yeah,
but there are obviously some positives as well, right? So,
yeah,
right. So those also help you move along as well. So I think if we look at Hong Kong parents as a whole, I can't say they're negative. I would say that they're enthusiastic. They really want the best for their kids.
yeah.
No doubt, no doubt about it.
Which is natural for parents and
Natural,
very
yeah.
noble as well.
Yeah.
They make a lot of sacrifices as well.
Exactly. But now then it becomes, when you get to that point, you can make choices. How do you find the balance
Yeah.
for your kids so that it's, you know, in USA hockey, they gave a stat. It was like they were playing like 80 games a year or 60 games a year. It's almost like an NHL schedule, like professional schedule.
Yeah.
And they practice maybe 20 or 30 times. So the game to practice ratio isn't enough.
Right.
Too many games, not enough practice. So for what I'm trying to do, or what I hope coaches are doing for all their games, is play more games in the practice setting.
Yeah.
So that they can play and learn how to play, but and also have skills, so that you do a 50-50 kind of.
That's very important as well, because like now I think about it, if we learn to play a sport in a local kind of context, there's always so little time for playing an actual game in every session. Like from what I remember, when I learned how to play badminton, they always put like the last. It's actually funny when I think about it. Like every like a session maybe 2 hours, and then they give you the last 10 minutes
Just to play a game.
to play a game. But that's what we always look forward to is the
Of
game.
course,
But
yeah.
there's only so little. It's all you can't even finish a game. So
A friend of mine from Norway. His name is Christian Gilbert. This is his. He works at this school in
Oh, yeah.
Norway.
Yep.
It's called Vang.
Yeah.
Wang. Wang, but it's Vang.
All right.
Vang, and
Yep.
it's a sport school.
Oh,
So they
okay.
do schooling,
Yeah.
but they take the elite athletes, and they all go there and
Right.
study.
Right.
And he was one of his things was he was saying to me, is that they shouldn't have to like feel like they have to practice a certain amount just to get a game. It should be that the game is normal.
Yes.
It should be like out of your 2 hours, do an hour of skills, but then have an hour for them to make mistakes and play a game, to make
Yes.
those mistakes and try and learn.
That's how you learn, right?
And,
yeah.
and while you're playing, maybe the coach does come by and give you a couple of tips. It doesn't
Yeah.
have to be so structured that everything is a system and must be done this way.
Yeah.
Every kid is different. Every kid has different genes. Every different kid has
Yeah.
different muscle development, growing at different paces. Let them develop themselves and understand. I say this to the little ones that are learning how to skate and balance. I say, I can't teach you how to balance. I can only show you the technique or how
Yeah.
to use certain skills to attain that balance. And when you attain it, only you can figure out how to do it because it's your own body. I can't use a PS4 controller and control you. Only you can do it. And so you
Yeah.
have to give them the tools, and then they will figure it out.
Yeah.
But they have to figure it out on their own. If you hold their hand all the way,
Yes.
they're not going to do
Yeah.
it.
I think this is very important because like when I think back when I was a kid, like when I take up a new sport, like I don't know what's the meaning of me doing all those drills and stuff. Like if you I don't know if you play let's say football, so okay you there's a ball coming, you kick it forward, so that's it. But then like what does it mean in a game? Like if you're kicking the ball, it can mean that you're dribbling, it can mean you're passing and you're shooting. It's all different, right?
Yeah.
So you can only know all these skills what they meant in a game. If you do it separately, like for a kid, you can tell whatever you want, but they won't get it.
Yeah.
They won't listen to you. They
Yeah.
won't understand it. You just throw them into the game, they'll figure it out themselves.
And that's the one thing about parents is they feel like, the practices, the skills. Yeah, I understand you need skills acquisition, but the parents are so, like, that's what I'm saying. Like some of them are like, okay, I'm just gonna pay for like, 5 lessons a week, and they're doing private lessons. I'm not saying private lessons are bad. I'm just saying, like, how do you find a balance between private lessons and then applying those private lessons?
Yeah.
And so
That's-
some parents
yeah.
are actually joining like multiple leagues. They join 3 or 4 practices, and then they'll do 2-3 leagues in a week. And you're like, wow, that's a lot. Like I'll
Yeah.
see the kids more than I see my wife, because some of them will. And that's not a funny thing, some of them train. They'll play on the Sunday morning, but they're good enough so they'll play Monday evening, and then they'll practice like on a Thursday afternoon.
Wow.
But then on Tuesday, Wednesday, they might have some training. Then on the Friday, they might have a day off. Saturday, they're at it again at a different league.
Right.
So like if you're a U12, U14 player, you can play all week.
Wow.
You could join a practice from AIH. You could do one from Typhoons. You could do a practice with Tigers. I mean, you could do a practice with us. You can practice anywhere, and then
Yeah.
play 3-4 different leagues, and then you're basically your schedule is done. I know some parents that will go from one rink to the other. Like some kids are practicing at 7:45 to 8:45 at one rink. Then they'll come over to the other rink and practice from 9 to. They just rush over. They just get off the ice like maybe a few minutes before the ice practice over. Get in a cab and they're already gone to the next rink. They haven't changed out of their equipment. There's no need, right?
Just hop onto the taxi with
Just hop in a
full
taxi
gear.
with the full gear because they're small enough, right? And then they come to the other
Wow.
rink and then they're practicing for another 45 minutes.
That's crazy. That's even a tighter schedule than an NCAA player. Like even they have rest days and
Definitely,
stuff.
and there's this is the other thing is that I think the parents don't understand that there is a need for rest time,
Yeah.
And one of the I remember speaking with one of the instructors, presenters at this coaching symposium, talking about how there needs to be, there's practice, there's a game time, there's nutrition, there's rest time,
Mm-hmm.
and these things all work together to build an athlete, not just practice time and game time. You
Mm-hmm.
need to rest, but how much rest do you get when you're playing 5 days a week, and you still got homework, and you have other activities? When are you resting?
I know.
I'm not. I don't know. Maybe Hong Kong parents have this, this crystal ball, and the crystal ball says, in 10 years, my child, because of everything that they face, I force them to be so much higher than everybody else in the way that they perform, that it actually pushed them to that, so that they're actually going to just stay there. Because maybe they feel like the pushing they will adapt to it. I don't know. Maybe they will. I'm not sure. Maybe there could be some research done about this. I'm not a research scientist. I don't know how to do that. I could find somebody. Maybe you know someone who could do this research. Like how, when you push somebody that far, do they just adapt and then just become that good? Like
That's interesting.
I don't know. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Like maybe we've got it all wrong. Maybe the monster parents are correct, but I don't feel they are. I don't feel they are. I think
I mean, like
kids need.
anything in life, you need a balance. Absolutely anything. You can't really go to the extreme. There's always a limit to what you can do. But I think it's just like I hope if parents listen to this podcast, maybe they can think about it. Like I'm not saying every parent should change what they're doing right now, but just have a think about it. Like sometimes parents are too busy with life and with kids that they don't actually have time to sit down and think about
Yeah.
the strategy. Like if you think this is something to be strategized, I strongly suggest you actually sit down and think long and hard about it. So
Yeah. I think the one thing that I try to do with the parents that I work with is, if I feel like there's an issue, then you have to speak frank with them and just let them know.
yeah.
And then after that, they can decide. I'm proud to say most of the parents that I deal with are not like this.
Mm-hmm.
But then again, they're very young. Most
Yep.
of the kids are quite young, and that level of compete from the parents is not there yet. But I'm hoping that we can work with them and let them understand that as they get older, it will be more competitive, and that maybe you might get verbal, but that it's not a mistake to be verbal, but just in a way that is still productive, still positive.
Yeah.
How do we do that? And I think that's one of the, like, we recently took some kids to Thailand to play in a tournament, U8s, 12s, and I think a 14 team. Yeah. And so at the end of the day, on the feedback is that it was a positive experience.
Yeah.
I asked the parents, what did you think? What would you think out of your own comments? And many of them said that it was because it was a positive environment. It didn't matter that, of course they lost. Oh, okay, well, we lost every game. That's not fun. But they were learning, and that's okay. That they were learning was most important. We ran into a parent, a real monster parent, in Bangkok. Whoa. I mean, hey, respect to her. I don't know what she's been through. I don't know.
Right.
I'm not saying like she's a bad person. I'm just. It comes from here for sure. It comes
Yeah.
from here.
Yeah.
And like we were being positive with her kid. They're from Singapore. They live from Singapore, but they're I think they're Latvian. Good,
Right.
good kid. And the mother is a nice lady. Just every time we were being positive with the kids, she would literally just say, "No, he didn't do well." Just like that.
Wow.
Just and not like mean to us. She wasn't being mean. It was just her opinion about her son's performance. No, he didn't do well. Not good. Okay. All right. And I just said to her, well, I respect your opinion. I understand from your point of view that that's what you feel. And from my point of view, we saw some bad stuff too. I'm not saying he was a perfect player out there, but he did some okay things too. Sometimes he made the right decision. And she couldn't say no to that, right? Because every kid will do some things wrong and every kid will do some things right. And then she couldn't say, no, he did 100% wrong. That's impossible. So she didn't agree that he did well, but she conceded, I think, that he did maybe a few things correct, which is already progress. Because if she just says no, 100% wrong, then then I can't really speak with you. I'll just say,
Yeah.
okay, thank you. And then I have to walk away
Yeah.
because there are some parents like that. Yeah,
That's
she
true.
was, and nothing. I'm not saying that she's a bad person. Honestly, I bet you she had the most heart there.
Yeah.
As a parent, she was really just so supportive,
Passionate.
but passionate
Yeah.
about her
Yeah.
son. Yeah.
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 Okay, so that's pretty much it for our episode. What would you say in a sentence to the parents, to the monster parents? What would you say to them as a coach?
What I tell the kids is what I'll probably tell the parents is that there's a acronym called ROOTS. Roots. Okay, it's respect the referees, and then you respect the opponents. You respect the other officials. You also respect your teammates, and you respect yourself.
Right.
And so, as a parent, you also have to respect, right?
Yeah.
Have respect for those things. R is for respect. So you respect the game, but you have to
Yep.
respect the officials because they're the ones that are helping to keep your child safe from injury, and respect. I'm getting all over myself.
But we get an idea. We
You get the idea. I get.
So yeah, I
You'll
mean,
have
like,
to edit this.
yeah, it's fine. I'm keeping it.
You have to respect the game.
everyone, basically.
Respect the game. Respect the opponent.
Opponents, officials,
Respect the officials. Respect your teammates and respect yourself.
Yes.
Okay, and so any foul behavior would then no longer
Yeah.
show respect.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
and if you can show respect to all those 5 aspects, I think
You're okay.
you're good.
Cool. All right.
You can just
Good stuff. And just to round this up, let's talk briefly about this podcast. So, I think like I had this idea for a long time, but I think you're one of the spark that makes me want to actually do it because like we met in my RTHK show.
Yep.
It was very short and fairly limited in terms of the scope of what we can talk about. But I think just podcasting is just more free and limitless, and we can talk about anything, literally anything. And
yeah.
What do you think about this podcast, and how do you see it from here, moving forward?
I feel that it can continue. I
Oh,
think
yeah,
it should
definitely.
continue.
Yeah?
and it should be weekly, and it should be
Weekly.
it should be on a regular basis, so
Yeah,
that
yeah.
anybody listening can know exactly when it's happening.
Yeah,
And that
that's
it's
true.
almost like you can't compare it to TV shows. They're on every
No,
night.
no.
But if you were to do it every week, you have an episode every week. If you need help, maybe we can find a way to line up guests and for every week.
Yeah.
We can run it every week, and it would
Yeah.
just be, episode after episode of conversations, just having
All right.
talks, and and I think that could work.
Yeah.
I'm in.
Do you have the time though? Like you are always busy. You're always
We're
coaching.
good. 11 to 12. Tuesday mornings. Monday, is it Tuesday? I don't even
Think
know
about
what day
the
it is.
guests as well, because like let me talk about my concept, because like I understand like not everyone is always free like in the sports industry. So my idea was to having like it could be once a week, it could be anytime, but I think like if we can have different guests or different hosts,
Yes.
because my aim like I've never thought that I'm a good host. I never think that when I listen to my podcast, my RDHK shows, it's absolutely rubbish. So I'm trying to get people like you, like yourself, and like in last episode, Hilda, I think she's has got a lot of potential of being a host as well. So I think like in different episodes we can mix it up. We can have another athlete talking to you. I can be like looking after the machines and cameras. I can still join in. I can still have a microphone to join every now and then, but I'll take the back seat. Sometimes if we have some, like you said, controversial people, like
Carrie
not-
Lamb?
not people people, I should say.
Carrie
It would be
Lamb?
crazy. It would be crazy if we could get it.
Coming into this little crap hole. Hey,
Oh,
Miss
by the way, this is the very interesting office space that Mike has here.
No, it's a
A
storeroom.
lot of different
it's a store.
jerseys
It's a
and stuff. It's,
storeroom.
right in the middle of Kowloon. But yeah, I just want to make it open, make it a platform for sports people to talk about anything. And yeah, that's it. And I look forward to our next episode.
Next week.
All right. See you next week then.
See you next week.